Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod. We have Aaron Levenstadt with us today. Aaron's the CEO at Agency Alliance, creates more impact, income, and value from your agency. Stanford educated, 2x agency founders, twice had an exit. He's an investor. And yeah, he's supporting digital agencies, entrepreneurs by activating scale community and advisor boards. He's also working on a cool tool that we may talk about today regarding lead gen and signals. Podpire.com, my company, is presenting this podcast. We help you start a podcast, generate leads, investors, partners, true podcast funnels, which are quite special. Most people don't think of podcasts as lead gen funnels, but it's pretty much the best tool there is nowadays to generate leads. You can go to podpire.com. We have a free ebook and a masterclass there. Aaron, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks a lot, Charles. So yeah, in short, and happy to go into any more of this in more detail where and when it helps your audience. But effectively, I grew, scaled, and sold 2 digital firms. And since that time, launched Agency Alliance, which is at joinagencyalliance.com. And that's effectively a mastermind for agency owners that are looking to scale and want support from 2 groups. One is other agency owners that are similarly situated, and the other is from people that have scaled and sold these firms. So they're all kind of mixed in the community, those 2 groups. And then, like you said, something that has kind of come out of the community and what we've seen people, this was a big thing for me in my firms, was just having like a really good follow-up sequence, a personalized follow-up sequence for people that have expressed interest but haven't yet become clients. That was echoed in the community, and then it's something that we've now built a system and a product around that we're now offering.
Right. And if I understand your backgrounds right, you were a consultant, search product specialist, a corporate law summer intern at some point. So what led you to entrepreneurship and actually starting your own company?
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So this is kind of born out of my experience when I was, after I finished undergrad, I started working at Google. That's where I was the product specialist. And I worked on the organic and the paid products at Google. This was a while ago now. So this was early-ish days of internet marketing and the Google search and paid search offerings. So I think having that experience growing up professionally speaking, was incredibly exciting. I got to see so much entrepreneurial energy and experience entrepreneurial energy around me at Google. And that also, that had a big impact on me, as well as I think just sort of being in that environment at that point in time. And that really spurred a desire to want to help people through what I had learned in my time working on the search products at Google. And that was what my agency's focused on.
Love that. And tell me about your first exit. How did it happen specifically?
So yeah, the exits actually happened at the same time. So they were 2 and then they were amalgamated and exited together. But yeah, effectively the way that kind of played out was we were growing the firms, and then sort of, I guess it was probably about 11 to 12 year-ish trajectory. And then we were we'd been approached by a number of different folks that have been asking about, whether we'd be interested in selling, etc. And then for some reason, I took one of those calls. And then at the end of COVID, the deal sort of materialized. But it was, maybe 18 to 24 month conversation. And yeah, again, end of 21 is when that deal came together. So.
Right. And what was the specific step that led that buyer to want to acquire you? Because most of the time agencies don't scale too much. They don't get acquired. 95% of them don't get acquired just because they're so fragile. They don't have a solid client base. They don't have contracts. They don't have SOPs. So what led the buyer to actually be interested in you?
So I think it was a couple of things. So one is we had a very, very good sales process. And to your point on SOPs, we had SOPs for everything. So, anybody that's listening to this, if you've kind of put off doing the SOPs or I mean, it's not the most fun to do them and to get them put together, but it is really helpful and adds a lot of value to the firm. So we had SOPs around everything that we did. And then we also had a very strong sales process. And I spent a lot of time as I sort of went through founding and then running the firms and running sales around them. I spent a lot of time studying and getting very interested in human psychology and the brain. And as weird as that sounds to say, but, and then putting a sales process that aligns what you offer with buyer psychology, which I think is missed a lot of the time, is when you're running your sales process, you need to align almost everything that comes out of your mouth when you're speaking to a prospect, you or your sales team, if you have a sales team, it has to be aligned with their buyer psychology. And I think this is so often missed in terms of how you structure the conversation, from whether it's, discovery through to showing them what you do and how it works to actually signing the contract. You really have to consider buyer psychology way more than most people believe, or even if they're even thinking about that. So that's one, was having a really good process around that with buyer psychology at its absolute core. The other was something that we learned through experience, in the sense that we started off by, while search was always a core focus, we initially offered a number of other services. And then as we matured, we pruned those other services, got rid of them, and really squarely focused on SEO and paid search as the core drivers. I think that's all that we did towards the end of our trajectory. And I don't know if this would catch people as being counterintuitive, but that really helped us with our valuation and with selling the firm in terms of transacting. It also helped with just sales in general, because we were able to, what we called katanify the offering, which I don't know the exact katana, but I think it's like there's 100 different kinds of Japanese swords and blades, but a katana does this one thing, and it does this one thing exceptionally well. And that's how we positioned ourselves in the market, through, removing other things that we were doing in the digital world and just focusing on search discoverability.
And which was your second exit? What was that one about?
Yeah, so they were actually, it was combined. So it was a single transaction, but it combined both. The other brand was the more general, and there was still some general stuff that was going on in that. But then we had a separate entity that was just this katanified offering. So, and then they were combined on exit. So that's sort of how that evolution proceeded. We did have it. We just broke out the SEO and search in a separate offering and separate corporation, and then that was all kind of combined together on exit as a single sale.
And what changed in your life after that? Did you started investing? Did you get bored and started a new thing after that?
Yeah, so after exiting, it was really I really thought a lot about how I could best support other entrepreneurs and be as helpful as I can be to the business community, and where I could best lend value to society writ large. And I think what I found was there were a couple of things that I could do that would really help others. One is invest in other firms. So I do have positions in other digital agencies and digital marketing firms, and I through a family office, we take positions and help those firms scale up and advise around that and help them scale and or exit. The other thing that we do is we have this community where we place agency owners that are interested in scaling and want support from other agency owners and from a group of people that have done it. So that's all in a single community. And then the third thing is this offering where, and we alluded to this at the top, but a major unlock, major underline, bold italics, was figuring out a sequence and a cadence around following up with interested prospects in a meaningful way that did not close in the first conversation or the first couple conversations. So in every agency, frankly, every business has to deal with this, where you have a conversation with somebody who's interested in you and your company, but for whatever reason, and a lot of it might be completely outside of your control. If budgets aren't there right now, they need to get renewed in December. They have somebody else coming in who's going to lead the marketing charge. They don't want to sign on till that person's in their seat in 3 months. So they fall in love with you as an agency. They want to do business with you. They just can't at that moment in time when you have the first conversation. And we see, or what we used to do is we would initially send out these nurture sequences, right? Which is the generic email. You may include something interesting in there that everybody on your list sees, but it's a robo dial and everybody knows it. And it goes into an updates folder or another folder where 77% of people don't even see it because it's not in their main folder. So you've got to figure out a way around that, where you have a better way of following up with people that have expressed interest, but for whatever reason, didn't transact with you on that first run of conversation. And what we did and what we now offer is effectively a solution where you're getting updates about these people when they're posting on social, you're getting alerts in your email, you're getting we have an AI stack around this now where it will basically recommend messages based on what your prospects are doing and saying in the world. And that allows for a very personalized relationship building kind of outreach that isn't the standard nurture email. And this is a huge part of it, is getting that follow-up. I mean, what's the phrase? The cliche? It's fortune is in the follow-up, right?
Yeah.
That's cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. It really is in the follow-up. So having a system around that was such a huge unlock when I was running and operating the firms. And when we're working with firms on this now and getting them on our product, and they're getting it's a click of a button, personalized outreach back to somebody. You can see where they are in the world. If they're posting about that, you can give them really, really personalized messages that are clearly not the standard nurture email that everybody gets. It makes a world of a difference. People reply to that stuff.
Right. And tell me about Agency Alliance as well, which you seem to be part of nowadays. What are you building here?
Yes, Agency Alliance is the mastermind community. And in the mastermind community, the core offerings are effectively, it's a community forum. It's live discussions. We have live events. I do one-on-ones with members that are interested in some additional support. So access to myself, access to other scaled and exited owners that are part of our community. And then we just have growth ideas that people are constantly putting out into the community. So kind of your growth idea engine meets some coaching, meets networking and live events. That's Agency Alliance as the mastermind. And then the other offering through Agency Alliance is this lead revival product where you're kind of waking up your prospects that have maybe fallen asleep after you've spoken to them with this super highly personalized outreach based around what's going on with them.
Interesting. And what's next for you this year? What is your core focus?
So yeah, core focus would be, it's growing, we're very selective with who we want in the mastermind. So there is a vetting process, but we do intend to grow it over the course of the year. And then also for firms and folks that are interested in getting some support around this highly personalized outreach that is super catered to the prospect, that really helps you build a meaningful relationship with them after they've had that first conversation. And this could also even apply for clients that you're trying to upsell or cross-sell. We have users that use it for that too. But really growing that side of what we're doing and helping people get a much better handle on that, because that fortune is in the follow-up. When you follow up in the right way, you close more deals, just period. Right? I mean, as long as you got a good offering, you're going to close more deals. So it's that's a big part of our focus this year.
And tell me a bit more about the masterminds. I have my own mastermind. It's called Level 96 for CEOs. We meet once a month, and we have a 60-day free trial so that they can try it for free. What was your strategy behind it? Your thesis? Is it just that fostering community and trust is a moat in the AI age? Is it that it accelerates the sales cycle? Is it that it's valuable but no one does it, and that a bunch of people don't know how to navigate agencies? Why did you started that one, and how is it panning out so far?
Yeah, so I think the mastermind is certainly a piece that I wished I had when I was running my firms, and that was a big impetus behind it. And I'll explain why. So there are communities, right? There are EO, there's YPO, there are these big communities, and I obviously don't know your exact mastermind, Charles, or how you run it, but the idea of having this be agency centric, agency only, and it's specifically for agencies that have already hit a certain level and want to scale up to the next level, and that they realize a big part of what's going to accelerate that journey for them and help them do that is this combination of network expertise, in the sense like there are people that have done this exact marathon in the community, myself and others that have scaled and sold for significant wealth outcomes that they want access to figure out what's going to work, what's not going to work. They get access to their playbooks, to their mind. I think it's for the people that appreciate having access to similarly situated folks, as well as people that have done it. That is who it's for. And I think it's what I wish I had when I was going through my journeys, because let's face it, scaling these kind of businesses is hard, right? Like it is like, the Oregon Trail hard, like, to get from the East Coast to California before there were cars and whatever. Like, I remember like the old video game, now maybe like dating myself, but like this video game when we were kids where like, you go on this journey, and if you didn't have food and friends along the way, like you weren't going to make it. But if you did figure out how to make it, like the glories of California, right? That was like that. So that's really who this is for somebody that's like, they understand that scaling this kind of business is hard, but you need family and friends and food to do it and to make it. And when you do make it, it is glorious. You just need that around you to do it. So that was certainly stems from my experience, and is something that I feel I can give back and create that venue for other folks that are interested in that.
Talking about marathons, you do half marathons. You're quite a sporty guy. Like, how do you integrate sports in your schedule to increase your performance and happiness?
I'm impressed that you know that. So I think we talked about it, but I can't believe you remember that. So yeah, I'm a big runner. I like running. It's an activity I really like to do. Just kind of helps me really clear my mind. I think focus is so important, more important in this day and age than maybe in any previous time, just given the amount of notifications and buzzers and tabs and everything that can distract us. And for me, running is really like a reset. So I can go on a run, I can reset focus. I've done 4 or 5 halves, and I just ran my first full marathon. This is in Miami a couple of weeks ago. So I get a lot out of it. It just really helps me just kind of stay centered and focused.
Love it. What else is in your day-to-day that helps you perform better as a founder? Any meditation or reading time, for example?
So I think it's a really good question. I mean, exercise. So I run and I do other exercise, lift weights and a couple other things. That really helps. The other thing that really helps me is, there's this really, this helps me in general, but it also helps me from both a business and an investments perspective. And there's like a really, I don't know, it's a fairly famous quote by Warren Buffett. And it's something like, he says, he's a better business person because he's an investor, and he's a better investor because he's a business person. And what I try to do is I try to read certain kinds of material that I'll put on my, let's call it like an investor cap. So I do some investing in the public markets as well. And I'll print out and read annual reports of companies that I think are interesting, and 10K filings, which is basically like the material disclosures of these businesses. I kind of find it a little bit relaxing, which I don't know I don't know where I fall in terms of like the normalcy on that, but I kind of like it in terms of reading it. I also feel like I really grow from reading that material from both a business person and an investor's standpoint. And that's kind of, I think, what Buffett's saying is like, if you understand how to think like a business person, you can be a better investor. And if you can also split your brain to think like an investor, you can be a better business person. And these kind of documents that I don't know how widely read they are, but when you're reading annual reports and you see how other businesses are thinking about strategy and what they want to be doing given AI and other things that are happening in the world right now, tariffs and trade wars and whatever else is going on and how that's affecting the economy, it really helps me think more clearly about what's going on in my world. And I would venture to say that it can be helpful to anybody listening if you are comfortable kind of can take some time to read through some of that materials. You know, not like, yes, there are some great books, but reading through how other companies, you know, especially some public companies that you admire, if you read through their annual reports and their 10K filings or their 8K filings, you can really learn a lot about business, how business works, and how you should be thinking as a CEO, because part of your job as a CEO is you're a capital allocator. And understanding how these great business people allocate capital can only help you.
Love that. Where can people find out more about you, Aaron?
You certainly can find me on LinkedIn. That's the social platform that I'm most active on. So you can shoot me a message there. You can also reach me by email. It's my first name, AARON, at joinagencyalliance.com. And I'm happy to, anybody wants to chat, you can shoot me an email too.
Was Aaron Levenstadt and Charles Cormier for